In the shadows of international espionage, where nations play chess with human lives and information is more valuable than gold, there exists one intelligence agency that makes even the most seasoned operatives pause before they act. It's not the CIA with its Hollywood glamour, it's not KGB with the Soviet mystique, it's not MI6 with the British sophistication. It's an agency from a nation smaller than New Jersey, surrounded by enemies, outnumbered 100 to 1. Yet somehow, this agency has become the ghost that haunts the nightmares of intelligence services across the globe. From the halls of Langley to the corridors of Kremlin, from Beijing's state security apparatus to Tehran's Revolutionary Guard, there's one name that commands a different kind of respect and fear: Mossad. But why? What makes this relatively small intelligence service so uniquely terrifying to its peers? What gives an agency from a country of 9 million people the power to make superpowers think twice? Today we are going to uncover the chilling reality behind world's most feared intelligence agency, and by the end of this video you'll understand why even America's CIA looks over its shoulder when Mossad is in the room. Because what you're about to discover isn't about espionage, it's about survival, elevated to an art form. The foundation of fear, the birth of necessity. To understand why Mossad instills such fear, you have to understand its origin story. Unlike other intelligence agencies that were born from geopolitical ambition or imperial expansion, Mossad was forged in the crucible of existential necessity, the foundation of fear, the birth of necessity. To understand why Mossad instills such fear, you have to understand its origin story. Unlike other intelligence agencies that were born from geopolitical ambition or imperial expansion, Mossad was forged in the crucible of existential necessity. When Israel declared independence in 1948, it wasn't just establishing a nation, it was fighting for the right to exist. Picture this: a newborn country surrounded by hostile neighbors, with Holocaust survivors still bearing the physical and psychological scars of systematic extermination. This wasn't a nation looking to project power globally, this was a people who had learned the ultimate lesson: never again would they be caught unprepared, never again would they rely solely on others for their survival. Mossad, officially the Institute of Intelligence and Special Operations, was established in 1949, just 1 year after independence. But here's what makes it fundamentally different from every other intelligence agency on earth. It was never designed to serve national interests in the traditional sense. It was designed to ensure national survival. The doctrine of disproportionate response. Other intelligence agencies operate on calculated risk. Mossad operates on calculated certainty. When the CIA considers an operation, they weigh diplomatic consequences, economic implications, and political fallout. When Mossad plans an operation, they ask one question and one question alone: will this keep Israel alive? The difference is foundational philosophy creates something. This differentiation in foundational philosophy creates something that makes even 100 intelligence professionals uncomfortable. An agency that will go further, risk more, and cross lines that others won't. Because for them, the alternative isn't just failure, it's extinction. Consider Operation Wrath of God, launched after the Munich Olympics massacre in 1972. While other agencies might have pursued diplomatic channels or relied on law enforcement, Mossad embarked on a decade-long assassination campaign that spanned multiple continents. They didn't just want justice, they wanted to send a message that would echo through every terrorist cell, every hostile intelligence service, every enemy of Israel. We will find you and we will end you, no matter how long it takes, no matter where you hide. But here's what truly strikes fear in other agencies. It wasn't just the ruthlessness of the campaign, it was precision, the patience, the absolute dedication to seeing it through to completion. The network effect. What makes Mossad uniquely terrifying isn't just its operational capability, its intelligence network. While other agencies rely heavily on technology and signals intelligence, Mossad has built something far more powerful and far more unsettling: a human intelligence network that spans the globe. The concept is called CNM, Hebrew for help force. These are Jewish diaspora volunteers who aren't professional spies but can provide assistance when needed. A hotel owner who can provide a safe room. A doctor who can treat an injured operative without asking questions. A business owner who can provide cover for surveillance operations. The genius and the source of fear for other agencies is that this network is virtually undetectable through traditional counterintelligence methods. They aren't paid agents with handlers and dead drops. They are ordinary people living ordinary lives who might help once and never again. For foreign intelligence services, it's like fighting an enemy that could have eyes and ears everywhere. The technological edge. But Mossad's most terrifying aspect might be its technological capabilities, particularly in an era where cyber warfare has become the new battleground. While details remain classified, what has leaked out paints a picture of an agency that doesn't just keep pace with technological advancement, it drives it. Take the Stuxnet virus, widely attributed to a joint Israeli-American operation. This wasn't just malware, it was a digital weapon so sophisticated that it could physically destroy centrifuges in Iran's nuclear facilities. The message was clear: Mossad could reach into the most secure facilities of its enemies and cause physical destruction without even setting foot in the country. But here's what keeps other intelligence chiefs awake at night. If this is what the world knows about, what capabilities remain hidden, what digital weapons are being developed in Tel Aviv's underground facilities, what surveillance capabilities have they deployed and even their closest allies don't know about. The operations that changed the game. Operation Finale, Hunting Evil. In 1960, Mossad pulled off an operation so audacious, so technically perfect, that it redefined what was possible in the world of intelligence. They kidnapped Adolf Eichmann, one of the architects of Holocaust, from Argentina and brought him to Israel to face trial. But this wasn't just about justice. It was a demonstration of Mossad's operational philosophy that would send shockwaves through intelligence communities worldwide. Think about the complexity. They had to locate a man who had been hiding for 15 years, confirm his identity, plan an extraction from a foreign country, execute the operation without diplomatic cover, and get him back to Israel for trial. The operation required months of surveillance, multiple safe houses, forged documents, and split-second timing. But here's what made other agencies sit up and take notice. They pulled it off flawlessly. No diplomatic incidents, no international complications. One day Eichmann was living quietly in Buenos Aires, and the next day he was in Israeli courtroom. The message to the world was unmistakable. Mossad could reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. Geography was no protection. Time was no protection. Even the protection of foreign governments might not be enough. Entebbe President. July 4th, 1976, Air France Flight 139 had been hijacked and was sitting on the tarmac at Entebbe Airport in Uganda with over 100 hostages, most of them Israeli. The hijackers were demanding the release of Palestinian prisoners, and they had the support of Idi Amin. Most intelligence agencies would have considered the situation hopeless. The hostages were under heavy guard. Any rescue attempt would have to deal with both the hijackers and potentially the Ugandan military. But while other agencies were calculating the impossibility of the situation, Mossad was planning the impossible. In a coordinated operation involving military special forces, intelligence operatives, and logistical support, Israeli forces flew to Uganda, stormed the terminal, eliminated the hijackers, and evacuated nearly all the hostages. The operation lasted 90 minutes. The psychological impact lasted decades. Intelligence services around the world realized they were dealing with an organization that didn't recognize the word impossible. The Syrian nuclear reactor, September 6, 2007. Israeli F-16s crossed into Syrian airspace and destroyed a nuclear reactor being built with the North Korean assistance. The world didn't learn about the operation until years later, and even today, many details remain classified. But here's what makes this operation masterclass in intelligence work. The reactor's existence was one of the most closely guarded secrets in the Middle East. Syria had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide the facility. North Korea had provided not just technology but operational security expertise. Yet somehow, Mossad not only discovered the reactor but gathered enough intelligence to pinpoint its exact location and vulnerabilities. This operation demonstrated something that keeps foreign intelligence services awake at night. Mossad's penetration capabilities are so advanced that even the most secretive projects, protected by multiple layers of security from different countries, might still be compromised. The Dubai assassination. January 2010, Mahmoud al-Mahoub, a senior Hamas commander, was found dead in a hotel room in Dubai. What followed was the revelation of one of the most sophisticated assassination operations ever caught on camera. 26 operatives, multiple fake passports, precision timing, advanced surveillance, and flawless coordination. The operation required months of planning, multiple reconnaissance strips, and split-second execution. And here's the terrifying part for other agencies. They almost got away with it completely. The only reason the world learned about the operation was because Dubai's security services decided to release the surveillance footage. Otherwise, it would have looked like a natural death, and the operatives would have disappeared without a trace. The operation revealed something that makes intelligence professionals deeply uncomfortable. Mossad's operational security is so advanced that even when they are caught, it's only because someone chose to expose them, not because they made mistakes. The intelligence coup that never was. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Mossad's operations isn't what we know about, it's what we don't know about. Intelligence sources suggest that for every operation that becomes public, there are dozens that remain completely secret. Think about for a moment. The operations we've discussed, Eichmann, Entebbe, the Syrian reactor, Dubai, these are the ones we know about. These are the operations that either became public by design or were exposed by circumstances beyond Mossad's control. What about the operations that remain classified? What about the intelligence coups that were so successful, so complete, that the targets never even know they had become compromised? What about the threats that were neutralized so quietly that the world never knew they existed? This is what keeps other intelligence agencies fearful, the unknown scope of Mossad's capabilities. When you're dealing with an organization whose known operations are at this level of sophistication, what does that say about their unknown operations? Psychological warfare advantage, the fear factor multiplier. What makes Mossad uniquely terrifying isn't just their operational capabilities, it's their understanding of psychological warfare at a level that borders on supernatural. They don't just neutralize threats, they create psychological environments where potential threats neutralize themselves. Consider the ripple effects of their operations. When Mossad assassinates a terrorist leader, they're not just eliminating one person, they're sending a message to every other terrorist leader. We know who you are, we know where you are, and we can reach you whenever we choose. This creates a climate of paranoia and fear that extends far beyond the immediate target. Intelligence agencies worldwide have studied this phenomenon, and what they have discovered is unsettling. Mossad doesn't just conduct operations, they conduct psychological campaigns that can disable entire networks through fear alone. Enemy operatives start making mistakes because they are looking over their shoulders. Terrorist cells fragment because members don't trust each other. Foreign intelligence services become reluctant to operate in certain regions because they know Mossad is watching. The reputation as a weapon. In the intelligence world, reputation is often more powerful than actual capability, and Mossad has carefully cultivated a reputation that serves as a force multiplier for their actual operations. They will allow certain stories to leak, certain operations to become public, certain capabilities to be known, all to create a psychological profile that makes their enemies think twice. But here's the genius of their approach. They manage to create fear without creating the kind of public backlash that hampers other agencies. The CIA's reputation often works against them diplomatically. KGB's reputation made them effective but also made them pariahs. Mossad's reputation creates fear among their enemies. while maintaining plausible deniability and even admiration among their allies. The balance is incredibly difficult to achieve and requires a level of strategic thinking that most intelligence agencies never master. Mossad has weaponized their own mythology. The network paralysis effect. One of the most sophisticated aspects of Mossad's psychological warfare is what intelligence analysts called network paralysis. This is the phenomenon where enemy organizations become so concerned about Mossad's infiltration that they begin to destroy themselves from within. It works like this. When an organization believes it might be infiltrated by Mossad, it begins implementing increasingly strict security measures. Communication becomes more difficult. Trust erodes between members, operations becomes more complex and less efficient. Eventually, the organization's fear of Mossad infiltration becomes more damaging than actual Mossad operations. This is psychological warfare at its most sophisticated, using the enemy's fear against them to the point where they become their own worst enemy. And the beauty of it, from Mossad's perspective, is that it requires minimal resources. Once the reputation is established, it becomes self-sustaining. The intelligence community response. How do other intelligence agencies deal with an organization that has mastered psychological warfare to this degree? The answer is they don't really. Most agencies have adapted by simply avoiding direct confrontation with Mossad when possible. This creates a phenomenon that would have been unthinkable during the Cold War, a small country's intelligence service that larger powers actively avoid antagonizing. The CIA, despite having vastly superior resources, maintains cooperative relationships with Mossad's party because the alternative, having Mossad as an enemy, is simply too costly. The Russians, despite their traditional hostility towards Israel, maintain a complex relationship with Mossad that creates both competition and cooperation because they have learned that direct confrontation with Mossad often costs more than it's worth. Even hostile intelligence services like Iran's MOIS or Syria's intelligence apparatus spends enormous resources on Mossad's specific counterintelligence, resources that could otherwise be used for their own operations. The succession problem. But here's what keeps intelligence analysts around the world fascinated and concerned. What happens when Mossad's current generation of leadership retires? The agency's effectiveness has been built on institutional knowledge, operational experience, and specific organizational culture that developed over decades. Can this level of psychological dominance be maintained across generational transitions? Or is Mossad's current reputation a product of specific historical circumstances and individual personalities that might not be replicable? The question matters because if Mossad's psychological warfare capabilities are tied to specific individuals or historical contexts, then their effectiveness might diminish over time. But if they have successfully institutionalized these capabilities, then their psychological dominance could continue indefinitely. Other intelligence agencies are watching this transition carefully because the answer will determine whether Mossad represents a temporary anomaly. Other intelligence agencies are watching this transition carefully because the answer will determine whether Mossad represents a temporary anomaly in intelligence history or a new permanent paradigm that other agencies will need to adapt to. The modern battlefield and the future implications. Cyber warfare supremacy. In the digital age, Mossad has evolved beyond traditional espionage into something that resembles science fiction more than classical intelligence work. Their cyber warfare capabilities have reached a level that makes other agencies question whether they are still playing the same game. The Stuxnet virus was just the beginning. Intelligence sources suggest that Mossad has developed cyber weapons that can not only destroy physical infrastructure but can remain dormant in enemy systems for years, waiting to be activated. Imagine malware that could shut down the country's electrical grid, disable its communication networks, and cripple its financial system all simultaneously, all on command. But what makes this truly terrifying for other agencies is the precision and selectivity of these weapons. This isn't indiscriminate cyber warfare, it's surgical digital strikes that can target specific individuals, specific systems, specific capabilities while leaving everything else untouched. The psychological impact of this capability cannot be overstated. Every intelligence service in the world now has to assume that their most secure systems might already be compromised, that their most classified operations might already be known, and that their most protected assets might already be under surveillance. The AI revolution. As artificial intelligence transforms intelligence networks, Mossad appears to be leading the revolution rather than following it. While other agencies are still figuring out how to integrate AI into their existing operations, Mossad seems to have rebuilt their intelligence architecture around AI capabilities. Pattern recognition that can identify threats before they fully develop, predictive modeling that can anticipate enemy operations before they have even planned, deep fake technology that can create false identities to convince that they pass every security check, language processing systems that can monitor communications in real time across dozens of language and dialects. But here's what particularly unsettling. They appear to be using AI not just for intelligence gathering but for operational planning. Systems that can design complex operations, calculate risk factors, and optimize execution strategies with a level of sophistication that human planners couldn't match. The global reach paradox. Despite Israel's small size, Mossad's operational reach has become essentially global. They have assets and capabilities on every continent, in every major city, within every significant organization. This creates what intelligence analysts call the global reach paradox. How does a small country's intelligence service develop and maintain capabilities that rival or exceed those of superpowers? The answer appears to lie in their approach to resource allocation. While other agencies spread their resources across multiple priorities, political intelligence, economic espionage, diplomatic monitoring, military intelligence, Mossad focuses almost exclusively on existential threats to Israel. This laser focus allows them to achieve depth of capability that other agencies can't match despite their larger budgets. But this focus also creates vulnerabilities that other agencies are beginning to exploit. If Mossad is so focused on protecting Israel, what happens when threats emerge that don't directly threaten Israel interests? What happens when their laser focus becomes tunnel vision? The uncomfortable truth. The reason Mossad is feared by all intelligence agencies isn't because they are more ruthless. Though they can be, it's not because they have better technology, though they often do. It's not because they are more skilled, though their operatives are exceptionally capable. Mossad is feared because they represent something that other agencies struggle to replicate. Absolute clarity of purpose combined with unlimited commitment to achieve that purpose. When an organization knows exactly what it's fighting for and is willing to do whatever it takes to survive, it becomes something more dangerous than any other intelligence agency. It becomes an existential force. Other agencies serve national interest, political agendas, economic goals, or ideological causes. Mossad serves a survival of Israel. And there's something about that level of focus, that degree of commitment, the clarity of purpose that makes even the most powerful intelligence services hesitate before challenging them. This isn't about praising or condemning Mossad. It's about understanding a phenomenon that has reshaped the entire landscape of modern intelligence network. What you view their methods. This isn't about praising or condemning Mossad. It's about understanding a phenomenon that has reshaped the entire landscape of modern intelligence network. Whether you view their methods as necessary or excessive, whether you see their operations as brilliant or troubling, you cannot deny their effectiveness. They have taken a small country surrounded by enemies and made it practically untouchable. They have created an intelligence organization that punches so far above its weight, and it has redefined what's possible in the world of espionage. They have built a reputation so formidable that it serves as both sword and shield in the dangerous game of international intelligence.